Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Social Circle Planning Commission for September 23rd. It is 6 p.m. We are going to get started. We do have a few items on our agenda to go through. First of all, I'd like to let the record show that we do have a quorum with Mr. Adolphus Gaither and Mr. John Gardner absent. All other members are present. We have minutes from the Planning Commission from the regular meeting of August 26th. The chairman needs a motion for those minutes if we've all had an opportunity to review those with no changes.
I make a motion.
And I second
I make a motion.
it. I second it.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of August 26th and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, for the minutes of the Planning Commission called meeting, September 2nd, 2025, 6 p.m. Are there any noted changes that need to be made? If not, the chair will accept a recommendation.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay,
I second it.
we have a recommendation and a second for the approval of the minutes for the call meeting. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you. All right, we do have a few public hearing items, folks, but before we go into those, please listen to the rules that were about to be played.
Before we begin this evening, I want to just hit the highlights of the regulations that need to be considered during this meeting. Foremost, for the record to reflect any speakers who wish to respond for or against the application of any item on the agenda, each speaker must sign up to register their intent. If you do not register prior to the commencement of this meeting, you will not be called upon, and you will not be allowed to speak. Each item shall be handled in the order of the published agenda. However, upon motion of the commission, it is possible that the order of the agenda may be changed. Therefore, it is recommended all interested persons remain at the meeting in the event of a change in the order of the agenda. As each agenda item is brought forth, the city staff will present the application, the background of the property involved, and provide a recommendation. After the staff has presented the application, the applicant or applicant's agent will give his or her presentation of the item. The applicant's time is limited to a total of 10 minutes. The applicant may designate any remaining time for rebuttal to any opposition to the application. All registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard and will also be limited to 10 minutes total, not each. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation to the board and the pro-applicant speakers have been heard, the chair will then call upon registered speakers who wish to speak against the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to 10 minutes total, not each. After the public comments have been heard, the Planning Commission members will then discuss the request among themselves. Upon motion and second by the members of the commission, an action on the application may be taken to approve with conditions, approval with an alternative zoning district that is lesser than that which was advertised, or deny. These matters are sometimes hotly contested and can result in highly adversarial positions among the participants in attendance. This meeting is not the place for such discussions. Rather, this is a meeting to hear the facts and opinions as presented by all parties. Each public speaker will be called upon by the chair, and each speaker must address the commission. Any conversations between the speaker and other members of the audience not called upon by the chairman shall be deemed out of order. All speakers are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner, and any involvement of personalities or the use of abusive or profane language will not be tolerated.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So we do have three items on the agenda. One is annexation, the other is a future land use map amendment, a rezoning, and a special use permit. Each one of these items will require a public hearing. The Planning Commission will not vote on each individual item upon close of the public hearing. We're going to reserve our vote for each item at the end of the meeting. That way, each item has an opportunity to be heard individually. So the first item is an annexation request. Cody, would you introduce this item for us, please?
Yes, ANX 2025005, request for annexation of 0 Hawkins Academy Road and 0 Roy Malcolm Road, also known as tax parcels C1710019 and C1710020, into the City of Social Circle as part of a proposed data center development. This application is being made under the provisions of the Official Code of Georgia, Section 363620, and is made by ordinance to be included in the corporate limits of said municipality and made a part thereof. For the purpose of saving time and not being too redundant, I'm only going to address what is pertinent to the annexation portion itself.
Thank you.
Scott Green, on behalf of Thomas and Hutton Engineering, is requesting to annex tax parcels C-171-0019 and C-171-0020 into the City of Social Circle as part of a proposal for a potential data center development. As part of the proposal, if approved, the applicant would also be seeking a future land use map amendment, rezone, and special use approval as well. These parcels are currently located in the unincorporated portion of Walton County along Hawkins Academy Road and Roy Malcolm Road. This parcel is directly adjacent to a property currently within the city limits. The adjacent parcel was annexed into the city back at the beginning of the year. The requested annexation, as proposed, appears that it would address a specific need by promoting job growth in the area and increasing the tax base. It does not appear that the proposed annexation would adversely affect the existing use nor usability of adjacent or nearby properties either. This property would fall within the Watershed Protection Overlay District. Therefore, any developments on this property would be required to adhere to all standards outlined in Section 5.3 of the city's Unified Development Code. The requested annexation appears that it would conform with the comprehensive plan as it pertains to the future land use map. There appears to be adequate school, public safety, and emergency facilities to support the proposed annexation. However, city police and fire have indicated that if approved, they would like to meet with the developer prior to any plans being submitted so that a discussion regarding traffic flow in that area can be had to ensure proper safety. Also, there is currently no water, sewer, or gas availability if needed within the area of the proposed development. Therefore, the developer would be responsible for addressing these concerns if approved. For the annexation, staff recommends approval of the request to annex tax parcels C-171-0019 and C-171-0020 into the City of Social Circle.
Okay. So to open up the public hearing, I'll call upon the applicant. What's that?
Well, you have to call the applicant up first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to call upon the applicant, Scott Green. Mr. Green, if you'll introduce yourself, you'll have 10 minutes to speak. You may reserve some of your time for rebuttal should you wish to.
Sure. Chair, Commission, Cody, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Scott Green. I work with Thomas and Hutton Engineering Company. Our office is located at 2127 Usher Street in Covington, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of the Peters family tonight. Been working with TJ and Mr. Doug, Miss Deborah, Mr. Steve Powers, and Lauren and family for a good time now on this property, contemplating what potential uses that could be on this property. This family has been a part of this community for a long time. TJ's great-great-grandfather acquired this property, makes some other properties in the area in the 40s. Mr. Doug was working with the city water plant for nearly 2 decades. His family is very invested in this community and has a vested interest in the long-term prosperity of Social Circle. They do want to stay part of this community and want to continue to be active in the community. We've been studying this property with TJ and Lauren and Mr. Doug and family for a good while now on different alternative uses for the property. Due to the low traffic impact, high wage job opportunities, and high tax income opportunities for the city, some of which that Cody mentioned earlier, just in long deliberation, the Peters feel that the proposed use of a data center could be the most economically impactful use with the lowest impact to the community and the surrounding neighbors. That kind of set our overall vision and guidance of the direction that the family want to take for the property. Now that you've got a vision in place, how do you get there? The Peters have spoken with one particular group and have felt a good comfort level with this group. They're a developer that has come before this board previously. The Peters will be working with Atlas Development, who has the experience and knowledge and connections within this data center mission critical industry to bring this type of project to reality so that the city can realize the benefits of a project of this type. In speaking with TJ and the family and Atlas, and also in hearing some of the previous recommendations that this board has made and that City Council has made, I know this is maybe a little bit down the line, but I did want to kind of put this out there to begin with. We are agreeable to the conditions of the previously approved special use permit for Zero Fair Play by the mayor and city council. There were 9 conditions included. Those conditions related to parking, lighting, substation, and equipment screening, all publicly public water and sewer utilities to be dedicated back to the city would be constructed at the cost of the developer. I know Cody mentioned there's limited water and sewer in this area. There will have to be infrastructure built that will be bared by the cost of the developer. We will be working with the city and the city staff very closely. I know another one of the conditions was obtaining a letter from the city engineer to confirm that utilities have the capacity for the project. And as we move past this phase, if approved, during the design phase, we will be working with the city to make sure that the city's utilities are able to serve this project, and this project will not be a detriment to the rest of the citizens in Social Circle. Another stipulation was a hybrid cooling system that was adopted by City Council, and then last was the letter from the city engineer that I just mentioned. Concerns about water and noise, power, environment, and siting are valid. Regulations and oversight by the city, county, state, and federal government ensure that those are addressed so that these developments can bring major economic investment and safeguards to these communities. These developers invest large amounts of capital in these projects. These are long-term, reliable projects. Data center developers that I'm involved in several data center projects in other communities. I know that they are very involved in the community. They want to be partners with the community in all aspects from the very beginning. And with that, I will close my portion and leave my time for any questions by you or the audience.
Are there any questions that the planning commission has of the applicant about the annexation? If not, we did not have anyone signed up to speak in favor of the request, but we do have a few signed up to speak in opposition of the request. I'll call them in order that signed up. Christy Stoddard. And as a reminder that those who speak in favor and oppose can have a total of 10 minutes, not 10 minutes each.
Gotcha. I'll be quick. I just wanted to point out that I am speaking against the project because it does not comply with the future use map, land use map for Walton County, nor the wishes of the community. It's slated on the future use map as conservation, which is most of the land there. By the way, I'm at 5174 Hawkins Academy Road. I forgot to state my address. Let's see. The property has been taxed as conservation land, therefore assumed it would be protected according to said tax break. Let's see. It was also the last parcel, and I thought it was interesting when I came in and recognized the developer because I was here speaking against the last portion that's now in the city limits map there. The only reason it touches the city limits is because of that meeting that was held on January 22nd when the city was closed down due to inclement weather, if you remember that situation. I still question the legalities of that, but that's a whole nother situation. There's also, the city also adopted the moratorium to, not consider any more approvals at this time. I know this one was filed before, but I think that goes to show that I think they have projects better suited for this, for a data center to go somewhere else besides where it is, because that is way far reaching from where the city limits were. I have a lot of stuff up here, but I don't want to take up all the time. But I do have the minutes from the meeting of the planning and zoning meeting for the parcel that's connected, where you all unanimously recommended denial on that. There was a lot of quotes from you and a lot of concerns from everybody else. And I was just wondering what has changed, if anything has changed with the zoning board.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next speaker is Wesley Studdard.
Mr. Hawkins is going to talk on my behalf.
Okay. Mr. Hawkins? Sir?
Is that permissible?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm not totally prepared for this. I came in a little bit late. My name is Doug Hawkins. I live at 920 Lakewood Drive, Social Circle. I'm familiar with Mr. Peters and the property there, and so I want to try to address this as I see it, as having done quite a bit of study on wastewater capacity, which Doug's aware of, and our water capacity. I don't think we have it for now or in the near future to be able to supply 3 of these now that are approved. I've got all the calculations I've been keeping up with as we're expanding, putting new subdivisions on forth. And as far as wastewater, we've already got allocated out over, around 900,000 gallons. Now to make wastewater, you've got to get water. And I think our permitted limit on the plant is 1 million gallons, and I think right now we may produce 500,000, maybe 550. I don't think we're prepared for that. It's an ideal place for it. It's in a sense, and it's near those a field there that's already being used. But I do question our rationale behind continuing to change the comprehensive plan to continually annex properties out into a community without any input from basically the community, because we only address those property owners that are joining that. Plus, DCA has a freeze on the DRIs right now because of the inability to cope with it. So rewriting that, the council has got a moratorium on the addition of approval of these. I guess it was already in the system. But I think if we think about it, it's getting a little bit too fast for us, and if it could just be delayed until we can get more information, I think it's just totally inappropriate to have this many hitting the system at the same time, knowing that we don't have facilities to handle it.
Okay. Thank you. The next speaker is Michael Davis.
How much remaining time do we have?
5 minutes, 41 seconds.
All right, I won't take all that. Michael Davis, 101 Gabriel Way, Social Circle, Georgia. As Mr. Hawkins said, people in this community are tired of this annexation move. You survey this community, I guarantee you, 80% would tell you we're tired of annexation. I know my neighbors are tired of annexation, even though it's not near us, but still. The infrastructure goes back to that again. Water, sewage, transportation, public safety, and everything. I'm not sure that any of us in here truly have a grasp of how close to beyond maximum capacity this city is. I can speak to that. I can tell you that. We are at or beyond capacity to handle it. We've been very fortunate that, we've been able to handle it with this and that, even though we continue to have issues with both gas, water services, with breaks here and there. They're going to happen. And you keep putting the strain on this. One thing that was not answered, and I asked this question before about the data centers, and I still ain't got an answer about this, is what about the electromagnetic radiation that these things generate for those people who live out there in that community? Their genetics could be altered. And if there's any young people out there, I'd be very concerned about that. So that's my beef against this. And again, as a property owner that does have a piece of property that's in a conservation easement, I can understand why you want to develop this, not leave it in conservation easement.
Thank you. At this time, we have no one else signed up to speak against. The applicant does have some time for rebuttal. Mr. Green, if you'd like to spend any time for rebuttal.
Sure.
How much time does he have, Cody?
4 minutes, 45 seconds.
Okay, Mr. Hopkins on the water and sewer capacity. I did mention earlier that we would have to work with the city, evaluate the utilities, evaluate if any upgrades or if upgrades are required. And again, to restate that, that would be a condition that city council put on an adjacent similar property here recently, that it would be up to the developer to fund the cost of those upgrades, which would upgrade the infrastructure for the city of Social Circle. It would upgrade it beyond its current capacities. I'm not sure if you can look at current capacities in terms of bringing on new developments when those developments could afford to upgrade the utilities, so there would be capacities available for the project and the city. I do not have an answer to the gentleman's statement about electromagnetic excuse me, waves from the site. I'm a civil engineer. That wouldn't be my discipline of expertise. Those are all the things I want to address right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, as stated, commission members will hold our individual votes upon conclusion of all public hearings. The next public hearing is for the future land use amendment to designate these properties known as tax parcels C171009 and C171020 as industrial character area. Cody, would you carry that for us?
Scott Green, on behalf of Thomas and Hutton Engineering, is requesting an amendment to the city's future land use map to characterize tax parcel C17100019 and C17100020 as industrial character areas. This request is being made in conjunction with the previously mentioned annexation request for these parcels, along with an application to rezone the properties from agricultural to light industrial as well. With the request to annex the properties into the city, a character area would need to be assigned to these properties if approved. The surrounding properties that are currently inside the city limits are currently characterized as industrial character areas. The proposal appears to be in line with the comp plan in terms of aligning with surrounding properties with a similar future land use map character area. Staff recommends approval of the request to characterize tax parcels C17100019 and C17100020 as industrial character areas.
Okay. Mr. Green, would you like to come and talk about the future land use map amendment?
I've spoken in depth about the proposed project in the previous annexation period. I don't have any more comments to add right now, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. We do not have anyone that was signed up to speak in favor of or opposition to the future land use map amendment. Mr. Green, you have anything else you'd like to say?
I'll sit in this chair right here now. No, sir, I don't.
Okay. At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments from Planning Commission on the future land use? If not, we'll move right along to the zoning. So this is a rezoning request of these two properties from Walton County Agricultural AG to light industrial in the city of Social Circle.
Scott Green, on behalf of Thomas and Hutton Engineering, is requesting to rezone tax parcels C17100019 and C17100020 from agricultural, as currently zoned by Walton County, to light industrial as part of a proposal for a potential data center development. As mentioned earlier, this request is being made for the purpose of seeking special use approval that would allow for a data center under light industrial zoning, as indicated in section 2.3.1 of the UDC. Light industrial zoning would be the least intensive zoning that would potentially allow for a data center, which is why it's being requested in this at this time. As shown on the proposed site plan, or Exhibit A, the development would be constructed across 2 tracts of land totaling approximately 151 acres and would consist of 3 separate 2-story buildings along with 1 substation that would total approximately 1.47 million square feet. Properties with a light industrial zoning typically have an impervious surface ratio of 40%. However, this property would fall within the Watershed Protection Overlay District. Therefore, the maximum ISR that would be allowed would be 25%, as outlined in Section 5.3.4 of the UDC. That section of the UDC also states that a variance cannot be obtained pertaining to ISR for properties that are in the watershed protection. ISR, buffer, and all other land development requirements would be addressed during the development review phase and prior to any construction or site work beginning. A Community meeting was held virtually on September 9th, 2025. However, aside from the applicant and their engineers, there were no other attendees. The range of uses is in line with the surrounding zoning districts that are currently within the city limits, and there are similar zonings and uses within the vicinity as what is proposed as well. The properties that lie inside the city limits are characterized as industrial character areas. However, the majority of the area that falls within the county is of rural residential or agricultural use. The proposed use does not appear that it would have a detrimental impact on public interest, health, safety, welfare, function, nor appearance of the adjacent uses or general vicinity. There appears to be adequate school, public safety, and emergency facilities to support the proposed rezone. However, there is currently no water, sewer, or gas availability within the area of the proposed development. Therefore, the developer would be responsible for addressing these concerns if approved. Furthermore, since the property is located within the Watershed Protection Overlay District, all stormwater management must be in accordance with Section 5.3.4.g of the city's UDC, along with Section 7.7 of the UDC as well. For the rezone request, staff recommends approval of the request to rezone the previously mentioned parcels from AG to light industrial with the following conditions. Condition 1, there shall be a minimum 300-foot natural vegetated buffer along Roy Malcolm Road and adjoining properties with a residential use and/or zoning. Condition 2, if development of a data center or industrial data center campus does not begin within 3 years of the date of approval, or significant progress is not continuously being made towards the completion of the proposed development, then the zoning of the property would revert to agricultural. Condition 3, maximum parking spaces shall be calculated at 1 parking space per 5,000 square feet of building heated square footage. Condition 4, wall packs and exterior lights mounted on the building shall only be placed above service entrances, shall be cut-off fixtures and down lightings so as not to cast light or glare towards property lines or streets, and shall not be used for general site lighting. Condition 5, parking lot lights shall not be taller than 20 feet, shall be full cut-off fixtures and not cast light nor glare towards property lines. Site lighting and photometric plans shall be completed and not provide more than 7-foot candles at the base of the light. And condition 6, power substations shall be screened from view, if visible from the right-of-way, with a dense evergreen hedge that provides an opaque visual buffer. Said hedge shall be no less than 12 feet in height at the time of planting.
Thank you, Cody. Any questions from the planning commission of staff? If not, Mr. Green, would you like to open up our public hearing for the rezoning request?
Yes, thank you so much. So along some of the lines of what Cody said earlier of this fitting in the industrial character area of the city, along with adjacent uses, that was, kind of one of the reasons when we were talking with TJ and the family that we wanted to go for this use. One of the items that Cody just mentioned that I highlighted, it was specific need by promoting job growth in the area as well as increased tax base. That was part of the annexation, and he mentioned something similar to that as related to this rezoning. Those are one of the key reasons that we decided to move forward with this type of rezone or promote those positive impacts to the community. One of the items, there's a couple of items in there that differ from the 9 conditions that were approved by City Council on an adjacent property. One of the conditions that Coney mentioned was the 300-foot natural buffer on Roy Malcolm Road adjoining the properties. So in Appendix A, Section 3.4.2.E in buffers, industrial use has a minimum 30-foot natural buffer shall be provided along rights-of-ways. So that would be the buffer on Roy Malcolm Road to the project. As note 2, it says a minimum 200-foot natural buffer should be applied where industrial use is adjoining to vulnerable uses, and it lists homes, parks, institutional uses like places of worship, schools, and daycare. Along our frontage of Roy Malcolm Road, none of those uses exist. It's currently a open and vacant field on the property adjacent from us. So I just wanted to bring that up. I feel like while we will keep as much buffer as possible, I don't want to limit the opportunities of this track. I mean, this property has already been encumbered by transmission easements and substations by the power company for many, many years, which is one of the reasons why, Mr. Doug has decided to move forward this. It's kind of encumbering his ability to use the property for farming and agriculture. But for some of those reasons, adding the 300 feet is not mentioned in this buffer section, but even the 200-foot buffer, I'm not sure is applicable to our situation on the property. The second of the 200-foot buffer on the adjacent property, that would be that would be in play as long as that property is in residential use. Is that my understanding? Any residential use, help me.
Residential or what was described as a vulnerable use or zoning.
Okay, thank you. Those are my two questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we don't have anybody that was signed up to speak in favor, but we do have 2 signed up to speak in opposition to the rezoning request. I'll call upon Christy Studdard.
Okay, yes, I am against the rezone to light industrial. The main reason why is basically, so the last project was annexed on Amberstadt Studdard Road. Was that just a way to reach this piece of land for annexation and rezone? I think I'm just now realizing that when I walk in, I see the same developer, and it's like deja vu. So that's one of the questions I have. Was that all part of the plan to begin with? Another thing that I have is this is a heavy industrial project. Data centers are only allowed outright in heavy industrial zoning. I find it frustrating and unethical to constantly slide in heavy industrial projects under light industrial zoning special use. Just so it looks better on paper, it doesn't change the impact of the project. Just changing the language on paper. That's my opinion about that. That's why I'm against this type of zoning for anything like this in our agriculture and residential area. Also, I want to remind the board that it unanimously voted to recommend denial for the adjacent property that we're talking about that now is leading us to this property, now is touching this property. And I also would like to remind everybody that Steve Shelton at the January 22nd meeting made a motion to revert the zoning back to agriculture if the data center fell through and the motion passed. Was that ever a thing that was going to happen, or was that just to make people happy to then move forward to this project? Because I know at the meeting last week when I was there, they called the Amberstadt Studdard project a dead project, but obviously it was a stepping stone, in my opinion. I also have a quote from Councilman Boyd saying that he was questioning whether basically, let's see, Councilmember Boyd, this is on the 22nd of January for the adjacent project, asked if electrical services need is not there. Let's see, where I'm at. We potentially are approving annexation, rezone to light industrial, and if that is outside y'all's time frame, you could potentially move on and do something else with the land. I'm glad that y'all are putting in the stipulation for it to go back to ag, but I don't have a whole lot of trust in that process because of the adjacent property. I'm just being frank with you. That's all I have to say.
Okay. The next speaker is Michael Davis.
Again, Michael Davis, 101 Gabriel Way here in Social Circle. Now, this goes back to some of the things in the past where annexation came before you in a rezone, and once you denied the annexation, why is there a need for the rezone? So if you deny the annexation, I assume you're going to deny the rezoning request as well, because that kind of goes hand in hand. But again, one thing that Christy did point out, and I've seen this happen around us, they come in under the guise of light industrial and they get started, and the next thing they do, they go back before a planning commission and ask to move it to heavy industrial. That has happened right here next door to us. Who's to say that may not happen here in Social Circle? Not saying that it will, but there's always that possibility out there. And I think Christy's onto something there when she talks about this guise, because this is starting to look like a clandestine operation for the long haul here with the same developers. It's starting to give me that kind of feel. But yes, so that's my main concern. That's the reason why I would not support a rezone, because I think you should deny the annexation to begin with.
Thank you. Mr. Green, I think you have some time for rebuttal. Cody, how much time does he have remaining?
6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple points. I know TJ may want to come up here too. So again, my name's Scott Green. I work with Thomas and Hutton. I'm an independent engineer. I'm not a property developer. I work for many property owners and many different, many different types of projects. But the one I'm focused on right now is TJ and the Peters family and this rezoning. The other project and this project have no relation as far as I know. I can't necessarily validate Christie's comment about this being a stepping stone. I'm not sure how those two relate to each other. So this is not a heavy industrial use. It is a light industrial use across many codes within the state, many states. It is not a heavy industrial use in many of the codes, including this one here in Social Circle. It would not be the intention. I don't see this being, if we get approved to go light industrial, I do not see a reason why or any developer attached to this project would come back and request for heavy industrial, because the use is permitted under a light industrial. It's not a heavy industrial use. TJ, if you want to come up, say a few things.
How's it going? TJ Peters. I'm actually 1310 Hutchinson Grove Road. So, yeah, Greensboro, Georgia. So, grew up here in Social Circle, born here, raised here. It's my family, my father, my aunt. Went to school with all these people. So, my teachers are up here speaking. So, know all these people very well. My great granddaddy, when that substation that's sitting on our property came to Social Circle, that was in 1963. We own this entire piece of property. Since then, and again, just to comment on why we're moving from our farming life, which we've been farmers since then. My granddaddy was a farmer. Since then, we've given up. I think it's 13 easements to the power company. If you look at if you look across the street from our land, to kind of comment on the electromagnetic waves, my brother and his kids live there, and right there on next to the 5-acre parcel. So to answer Coach Davis's question there, they're currently potentially exposed to that. We want to get them out of that from the solar farm there, right? There's huge power lines everywhere. We don't think that computer chips will put off electromagnetic waves, but we know that there's power lines sitting there all day long, and those are industrial power lines. We have 6 230 volt lines, multiple 115 kV lines. We are in an epicenter of power, and we've been earmarked as nationally. Our family was called from all over the country to try and find a place where this much power was available for these types of applications. So that's the main reason that we've done this. We decided as a family that it was time. We can't farm this property any longer, and we wanted to join the city and become a part of the city, so that the city can join in on the revenue that's going to come off of this thing. So we're happy to answer any other questions outside of here and talk to people, but at the end of the day, this is just something our family has decided to do. We think it's going to be a good thing for the community, and we think that overall that this is going to be a good project.
Thank you. At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Excuse me. And planning commission members, we're going to go back and look at the annexation. Excuse me. We have one more. We have one more public hearing. I apologize. And that's the special use permit request for the data center. Cody, would you introduce this item?
Scott Green, on behalf of Thomas and Hutton Engineering, is requesting special use approval to allow for the development of a data center under light industrial zoning at 0 Hawkins Academy Road and 0 Roy Malcolm Road, also known as tax parcels C1710019 and C1710020. Under section 2.3.1 of the UDC, data centers are only permitted outright in heavy industrial zoning. However, special use approval may be obtained to allow them under light industrial zoning. Given the proposed use, light industrial zoning is the least intensive that would match the proposed use and other industrial uses currently in the area. As shown on the proposed site plan, Exhibit A, the development would be constructed across 2 tracts of land totaling approximately 151 acres and would consist of 3 separate 2-story buildings along with 1 substation totaling approximately 1.47 million square feet. Properties with a light industrial zoning typically have an impervious surface ratio of 40%. However, with this property falling within the Watershed Protection Overlay District, the maximum ISR that would be allowed would be 25%, as outlined in section 5.3.4 of the UDC. That same section also states that a variance cannot be obtained pertaining to ISR for properties within the Watershed Protection Overlay District. As mentioned earlier, ISR, buffer, and all other land development requirements would be addressed during the development review phase and prior to any construction or site work beginning. Exhibit A also identifies 2 separate parking lots and retention ponds as well. The applicant has also indicated that the primary access point to the site would be off Roy Malcolm Road with a secondary emergency access driveway along Hawkins Academy. They also stated in their application that the emergency access driveway would be coordinated with Walton County. Additionally, the applicant conducted a trip generation analysis, Exhibit B, to provide an estimate of the increase in traffic flow through the area as part of the proposed development. As shown in Exhibit B, the analysis estimates that the proposed development would generate approximately 160 external 2-way trips during AM peak hours, 135 during PM peak hours, and generate approximately and a total of 1,262 during a 24-hour duration. There is currently no water, sewer, nor gas availability in the area. However, the applicant has indicated if approved, they intend on extending water and sewer services for the project with guidance from the city. The applicant has also indicated that they intend on working with Georgia Power and Walton EMC as it pertains to electrical utilities and the electrical substation. The substation will be developed on the 5 acres of land as shown on Exhibit A. As I mentioned before, a community meeting was held virtually on September 9th, 2025. However, aside from the applicant and their engineers, there were no other attendees. The range of uses is in line with the surrounding zoning districts that are currently within the city limits, and there are similar zonings and uses within the vicinity as to what is proposed as well. The properties that lie within the city limits are characterized as industrial character areas. However, the majority of the area that falls within the county is of rural residential or agricultural use. As mentioned several times already, the area is in the Watershed Protection Overlay District and would be required to meet all requirements outlined in Section 5.3 of the UDC, as would any development seeking to go in that area or overlay district. Also, as outlined in Section 3.4 of the UDC, the development would also be required to have a 200-foot natural buffer at a minimum due to it abutting residential property or residentially zoned property. The specific use standards for a data center are covered under Section 3.4.6.A. This section outlines a data center as being a facility or portion of a facility used for housing network, computer systems, and telecommunication equipment used for remote storage, processing, and distribution of data. The proposed development and concept appears to fall within the parameters outlined in this section of the UDC. The proposed use does not appear that it would have a detrimental impact on public interest, health, safety, welfare, function, nor appearance of the adjacent uses or general vicinity. It does appear that the property does have a reasonable use as currently zoned and tax districted. There appears to be adequate school, public safety, and emergency facilities to support the proposed use. However, again, there is currently no water, sewer, or gas availability within the area of the proposed development. Therefore, the developer will be responsible for addressing these concerns if approved. Furthermore, since the property is located within the Watershed Protection Overlay District, all stormwater management must be in accordance with Section 5.3 of the city's UDC, along with Section 7.7 as well. For the special use, staff recommends approval of the request for special use to allow potential data center under light industrial zoning at the aforementioned properties with the following conditions. Condition 1, there shall be a minimum 300-foot natural vegetated buffer along Roy Malcolm Road and adjoining properties with a residential use and/or zoning. Condition 2, if the development of a data center or industrial data center campus does not begin within 3 years from the date of approval, or significant progress is not continuously being made towards the completion of the proposed development, then the special use approval would be rescinded. Condition 3, maximum parking spaces shall be calculated at 1 parking space per 5,000 square foot of heated square footage. Condition 4, wall packs and exterior lighting mounted on buildings shall only be placed above service entrances, shall be full cutoff fixtures and down lighting so as not to cast light nor glare towards property lines or streets, and shall not be used for general site lighting. Condition 5, parking lot lights shall not be taller than 20 feet, shall be full cutoff fixtures and not cast light nor glare towards property lines. Site lighting and photometric plans shall be completed and not provide more than 7-foot candles at the base of the light. And condition 6, power substations shall be screened from view if visible from the right-of-way with a dense evergreen hedge that provides an opaque visual buffer. Said hedge shall be no less than 12 feet in height at the time of planning.
Thank you, Cody. Mr. Green, would you like to open to the public hearing with the information about the special use permit, please?
Yes, thank you. I think for many of the reasons that Cody has mentioned, this property is applicable for data center use and is supported for many of the conditions Cody mentioned. I want to touch on one of the things TJ said in terms of this area being identified as a potential source by data centers from a national and a state scale here. There is a power commitment on this property. The city has that power commitment. It's a similar commitment to adjacent properties, but it is overall commitment for the area. So there is a power commitment on the property now from the partner developer of the Peters family. So from I think one of the previous comments was related to will this project move forward? So that's just kind of another checkbox on the development timeline of getting that power agreement put together with the power company. That's all I have to add right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, there's no one that was signed up to speak in favor or opposed to the special use permit, so we'll close the public hearing. Cody, do we have that commitment letter from any power provider?
I'm not aware of
Okay.
there being anything other than what was included in the application.
All right, and I didn't see it in my application. So we'll go through planning commission members and we'll address and discuss each one of these 4 requests. So to kick off the discussion about the annexation, Cody, I'm glad you left the map up. The property in question is the property highlighted in yellow on your screen. Can you go back to the annexation? That way we can clearly see it and how it abuts the subject purple color, the light industrial, and that's what's allowed the applicant to apply for the annexation, is it abuts city property. However, what it doesn't do, and I've got some real heartburn about it, is there's a large piece of property adjacent to it at 1402 Roy Malcolm that is zoned agriculture in the county that is not part of this request, is not, it abuts this property, but it's still in the county. I think that gives some pause for me on the annexation. It would be cleaner and make more sense to me if both properties were being annexed at the same time, but we don't know what the intent is for the Roy Malcolm property at 1402. So I've got some concerns about annexing, basically jumping over that property. And that's some of the concerns I have on the annexation. Any other thoughts about the annexation, about the expanding the city limits? What are your thoughts on the city limits expanding to this property? Open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, again, I certainly can't support a request for annexing this property because of the unknown continuity. Yeah, it does abut at the back, but it would leave a pretty significant gap on a piece of property, and so I have a hard time with that. But with no other discussion, the chair will entertain a motion for this request for annexation. Hearing no motion, the chair will make a motion to deny the request annexation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to recommend denial of the annexation of the two properties, signify by raising your hand. All right. The next item is the future land use map amendment. Again, any discussions on that? All right. Seeing none, is there a recommendation or a motion for the future land use map amendment?
Motion we deny it.
All right. There's a motion to deny the future land use map amendment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And there's a second. No other discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to deny, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. For the rezoning request, any discussion on the rezoning we obviously made a recommendation to deny the annexation and to deny the future land use. Kind of hard to move forward with the rezoning if we were recommending denial for annexation. Anyone want to make a motion on the rezoning request?
I make a motion that we deny the rezoning request.
One more time.
I make a motion that we deny the rezoning request since the other ones
Okay.
have been.
We have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second it.
And we have a second. No other discussion. All those in favor of the request to deny, please signify by raising your hands. Thank you. And for the special use permit, can't have a special use permit if the zoning's not in place, but I've got some concerns that I'd like to state about that. Number one, we don't have a capacity letter, and that's something that we've always asked, or a commitment letter. That's something we've asked of other applicants. The applicant that was before us last month had a commitment letter from Georgia Power to provide a specific commitment to provide power. We didn't have that in this one. Water and sewer, there's not water and sewer infrastructure in the area. The previous application we heard last month, he had information from City of Monroe, from Social Circle, and from Walton County to provide water to that site. Data centers are very big water consumption users, so especially hyperscaler buildings such as these. So that applicant did have his information together, and with this one, I don't have anything. I don't think there's anything in our packets that talk about water other than we'll work with the city to get it there. The applicant did state that his developer would bring the water and sewer infrastructure to the site, but water and sewer infrastructure doesn't mean capacity. If we don't have the capacity at our plant to produce it, it doesn't matter how the water's getting there if we can't treat it and distribute it. So I've got some concerns about that. I don't have the previous applicant last month did have a commitment letter from an end user. And this seems a little speculative that there's not an end user, that this is just hope and dream that if we get the zoning in place, then we can go attract a user. So that didn't give me a lot of confidence either. So with that, if no one else has anything else to say, the chair will entertain a motion for the special use permit.
I have to agree with you on the water and sewage usage, because these things do use a lot of water for the cooling towers and all that kind of stuff, and not sure where that's coming from, because I mean, this property's already in Walton County. And, I think Walton County water might even come down that way possibly, but where's the nearest water tower, and like I say, if you do put it there, there's just not enough capacity.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd
Any
like
other?
to make a motion we deny.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to deny the special use permit request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second, thank you. No other discussion? All those in favor of the recommendation to deny, please signify by raising your hands. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Cody, I don't think we have any unfinished business. Any new business?
Y'all got a slew of applications coming next month.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, at this time, with no other items on the agenda, The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passed unanimous. Thank you.